Hello, Transurfer and the Transurfing Curious. My name is Renee Garcia, guys, and this is Transurfing TV. And today on Transurfing TV, I actually have a pretty powerful lesson that has been inspired by the first chapter of my book. It's more of reiteration of some of the points and maybe a little bit of a deeper dive into exactly what happened in that first chapter, because it's really fascinating to see the responses from people. And for those of you that have opted into the first chapter and joined the book club and are following the exercises and asking me questions, I can still see that there's somewhat of a hesitancy or a lack of belief that you do in fact obtain the power to change your narrative to whatever extent you want if you choose to do that. And I'm going to go through today a number of ways in which you can do that, or pertinent facts to keep in mind, things that I did, things that I still do. And I'm going to offer this to those of you that are challenged still to change the script, because ultimately that's what reality transurfing is about, right? It's about changing your script, and it's about choosing a new narrative for yourself. And this is not done in ways that everybody is looking to do them. And I'm going to go through my list and I'm not going to call anybody out, because that's not what it's about. But I still see some stuff floating around in the transurfing community that should be kind of like a no-brainer at this point. It really should. And I'm a little bit surprised that certain things are continuing to elude people. And I'm definitely going to call you out if this is you, that if you are choosing to buy into a narrative where you lack something, if you don't have the money you want, the love you want, the adventure you want, the creative passion, the meaning in your life, whatever it is, you are the one doing this to yourself. You are the one doing this to yourself. The only thing standing in between what it is you want and the materialization of you on this current life track is you. I know this is first of all, this is really fundamental. Sounds maybe a little bit too easy, maybe a bit ambiguous, and also a bit impossible at the same time. Okay, well then how do I go about tackling myself to get what it is that I want? So, fuck your narrative, call it today and tell yourself, this isn't my narrative anymore, and choose a new one. And then I'm going to give you some ideas to help you reinforce this new narrative, because this is where it's at. And again, those of you that have read the first chapter, and then for those of you that haven't, I was not in a position where anybody was giving me anything. Now, yes, in that first chapter, I did hit an incredible stroke of luck, right? As the story goes, it was it was definitely extreme and magical and all that kind of stuff. But the only reason that I actually connected to that event is because I chose a new narrative. That's what happens when you change a new narrative. You create your own luck. You find new opportunities. You unlock secret doors. you move through your reality in a way that coincides with the new narrative that you've chosen for yourself. And this may be instant or it may not be instant, right? It could be something like what happened with me, where I chose to, I chose to go into my day that day and be like, okay, something really good is going to happen for you. And boom, sure enough, something good did happen for me. Really, really good. Now, it could take some time, but how much do you want it, right? That's the idea. And I believe wholeheartedly that if that event would not have happened, had not happened in my story, I would have connected with something else after that, because my intent to have, my will to have was so great that my external environment was not going to deny me anything. It may have come in a different form, but it was going to fucking come, right? It was going to fucking come. So this is all going to make sense once I start running through my list. I haven't been making videos too often. This is going to continue to be the case. I'm going to make a video when I do feel inspired to do so. Go back and take a look at my 1,000 past videos. They are rich with knowledge and transurfing techniques broken down into a practical manner and all that good stuff. If you have not opted into the book yet, next chapter, which is coming out in about 2.5, 3 weeks, is going to be a doozy, and it's going to really go into the I always get a little bit flushed when I start talking about this, or I start thinking about this, because it's going to be quite crazy. But I'm going to really get into the story of how I went about reinforcing this new narrative that I had chosen for myself out of my desperate situation, and the ways in which I went about supporting that narrative and materializing that version of me and that version of reality that I intended to have. Was it exactly ethical? No, it wasn't. And I think the story is going to surprise a lot of people, but it is my story. And as Vadim Zeland says, as long as you're not hurting anyone, right? You can kind of do whatever it is that you want to do. And I definitely took my layer of reality up on that. I let loose. I did what it was that I wanted to do to help me facilitate a version of me and a version of reality that I had chosen for myself. And it worked. It worked. So if you would like to opt into this one, you will automatically then get an email letting you know once chapter 2 has dropped. It is going to be a pretty wild ride. We have tons of active conversations, exercises, Q&As in the secret book club, which is rockin'. And you get an audio file, you get the PDF, and it's pretty extensive, 75-minute audio file. So it's not a short chapter, but links below for all of that stuff. Join us in the Facebook group, all that jazz. The first point that I want to touch on here, I'm going to run through 6 ways in which you can chuck your old narrative and support a new narrative, bringing that new narrative to materialize. And this is like kind of, this has to do with the mirror. You are going to take certain actions and do certain things and get rid of certain things, but you are going to stop looking at the mirror. This isn't the point yet I want to make, but I'm just going to preface what I'm going to tell you so you can do it without pressuring yourself. Because I think this is where a lot of people get caught up and throw in the towel pretty quickly, is they want to act different, choose a new narrative, get rid of some, set and decorations and variables, as I suggest in my book. They want to do all this stuff and then they don't see the results. So they're like, oh, wait a second, it's not working. I'm going to just go back to the way that I was operating previously. I see lots and lots of people doing that. So if you are wanting or intending to change your narrative starting today and create a new reality for yourself, you've got to turn away from the mirror and stop looking at it and just focus on this stuff until your mirror starts to respond. Then you can take a peek, right? I mean, I can take peeks every now and again. I can be like, oh man, I'm rich, I'm in love, my life is really good. And I can become a little bit captivated with what I've created for myself in my layer of reality, but I don't become overtly focused on the result. I remain focused on the cause, right? Or the effect. I don't focus on the effect, I focus on the cause. And I stay focused on the cause, because the cause is which creates the effect, is what creates the effect. And a lot of people are so preoccupied with the effect that they put very little energy into the actual cause. And this is why most people don't create their own reality. So turn away from the mirror and then follow these 6 steps. So the first step to choosing a new narrative and getting away from the one which no longer serves you. Stop thinking that there is something external to you that is going to help you to choose a new narrative and live that out. This is, besides people, being fucking mesmerized by the mirror to the extent that they don't actually work on the cause, they're just focused on the effect. This is the second thing that I see a lot of people doing that it's not where it's at. It doesn't work. And not only does it not work, again, it's just like looking at the mirror. You're preoccupied with your search for something rather than turning your gaze inward and realizing you've got it right now. You have the ability right now to choose a new narrative and throw out the old one. And a lot of people message me and they're like, hey, I don't believe that I'm worthy. I struggle with the will to have. Is there an exercise that I can do that will make me feel worthy? Is there an exercise that I can do that'll put me in touch with the will to have? And the answer is no. You just do it. You just do it. And, I know we have these old programs, these old scripts, this old, pattern of thinking. And I'll get into this more in a little while. The people around us and the stuff around us that keeps us dialed into that old narrative. And there's all this stuff, internal and external, that is not coordinated to a new narrative of your choosing, that will continue to convince you that you're not going to have, or you're not worthy of a new life, or you're not capable of something fucking magical or whatever. But I'm here to tell you that you are, just as I was. And I had so much stuff in my life, in my external environment, inside, that was telling me that I wasn't. And it's not that I was on this long journey looking for something to confirm that I was worthy, or I was, that I did have the will to have, or something to give me permission to do that. I just stopped. And I'm very, very blessed that I had the ability to do this. And I think this is the seed of reality creation, is to just stop yourself, stop feeding yourself bullshit, stop taking bullshit from other people, and be like, no, I am worthy. I am worthy. And I am going to choose to have something new starting today. Is it going to be instant, that you're going to just instantly see your reality transform? No. But what's the alternative, right? Continue buying the stuff that you don't, buying into the stuff that isn't giving you what you want, or starting the change today. So what I like to do is I like to divide myself into 2 people. I am the higher version of myself. I am the lower version of myself. There's an infinite number of versions of self in between, but primarily lower versions of selves, higher versions of self. These two are the ones that are running the show, right? So anytime I have lower thoughts, anytime I say, oh, I can't have that, anytime I say, oh, that's for other people, anytime I say, oh, my circumstances don't support that sort of life, oh, I don't know the means to achieve that. Any of those kinds of thoughts, that's lower self, right? That's lower self. I call it out. Lower self, shut the fuck up. Higher self is now going to assume the will to have and the worthiness to have, and just kind of like shuts up that other version of me, takes the wheel of the car or the helm of the ship, and then drives the thing towards that new variation. It's about waking up. I see myself, I see my reality. What am I doing? What am I facilitating? What am I doing? How am I acting? How am I thinking? Which facilitates that old narrative. Waking up when you're doing that and moving over to, no, I am capable. I am worthy. I am good enough. I am strong enough. I am smart enough. I am creative enough. I can create my own luck. I can find people that are going to help me, right? So like switching to that over and over and over until that lower version of you starts to feel suffocated by the higher version of you. Like the higher version of you has put a plastic bag over your old self and duct taped around the neck. Oh, my dark twisted mind. Okay, so do you get the point what I'm talking about? You make the choice and then you call it every time you're doing that old you, and you switch over and just choose. You're not going to find anything outside of you that's going to straight up convince you that you're worthy, right? Because there's evidence to support all theories, and just as much as there's evidence to support that you are worthy, there's evidence to support that you aren't worthy as well. So the way that you gather the evidence to support that you are worthy is that you make that your new narrative, right? Bottom line. So 2, don't let go of your choice no matter what. This is also where people aren't really willing, right? Ready, willing, or able. Maybe they're ready, but they're not willing or able to stick to this new narrative. And oftentimes the biggest obstacle, I believe, that comes in between someone sticking to a new narrative or not, unfortunately, is other people. So this is the time, and I know like a lot of people message me, and here's the thing with the kids, you guys. I don't have children, and I don't have children intentionally. As I talked about in my first chapter, I got an abortion after my divorce, my marriage imploded, because I knew that if I had that kid, like that was going to change the narrative that I wanted for myself at that point to move forward, which was I need to find a way to achieve success. I need to find a way to love myself. I need to find a way out of this mess, right? This dumpster fire of a life that I had created for myself. And I knew that if I had a kid, that it was going to keep me there. So that's why I chose to do what I did in my story. For those of you that have your children and you love your children, and I know lots of parents message me all the time and they're like, how do I create my new reality when I have kids? Well, I can't really speak to that because I don't have kids, right? But what I do know is that there are plenty of successful people in this world and in the transurfing community that are creating their own realities because they have children, right? Or not because they have children, but with their children. So and also because of their children. I know a couple that have taken a number of my courses. They decided to get rid of all their possessions. They bought a bitchin' new Sprinter camper van, and they took their 2 kids, and they're traveling the US now. and teaching their kids. They're unschooling, I think is the term, unschooling their children and living the life, not only of their dreams, but a life that children, I mean, imagine being a kid going around the US in a camper van with your parents and you don't have to go to school anymore. So they have created a new narrative for themselves that also supports their children, and in a lot of ways their children's growth and evolution. They're teaching their kids practical stuff. So like, first off, stop telling yourself that you cannot create your own reality because of the presence of your children. Children are about the only thing that you can't get rid of, right? I mean, I guess technically you could, but who really wants to do that? Other people, man, you can throw other people out of your life like crazy. If you are in a relationship, and there's a woman that has been transurfing for a couple years now, she just straight up left her toxic husband because she's like, I'm over it, right? So if there is a person or people in your life that are seemingly against any other alternate narrative than the one you are living right now, then this is a choice, right? This is a choice. Do you want to continue to have these people in your life, or do you maybe need to clean house a little bit? And I know this sounds cutthroat and hardcore, and for a lot of people, it's not for them. It was for me. I had to 86 my mom, you know? And it's kind of crazy. And a bunch of other family members went with her. Nobody could understand this new version of me, didn't want to understand, did whatever they could to try to bring me down, right? Because me rising up out of the place that I was nurtured, for a lack of better words, this was in direct conflict with how they felt about themselves. So it was to their benefit that they brought me down on a daily basis, which is what they did. And finally, I just had to call it and be like, okay, you're fucking out. You're fucking out, you know? So the video that I did, Chaos Reigns, go back and take a look at this. It's a powerful video. It talks about what happens when you choose a new narrative and how your reality begins to respond to you in a wonky way where everything goes kind of chaotic, right? You're resonating at a new frequency. Your external environment is still at that old frequency. Those frequencies don't line up. So there's disjointed energy, chaos, all that kind of stuff. And what usually happens is people choose new narratives, chaos begins to reign externally, and then the person goes, oh God, this isn't working. Let me jump back to that old version of reality where everything was calm and smooth. So you have to ask yourself, what is it that I want? Do I want everything to be calm and smooth even though I'm not living the life that I want or the narrative that I want? Or am I willing to tolerate and manage and work with and deal with my external environment, the people in my environment, whatever your external circumstances are you willing to initiate a new narrative, a new script, and then deal with all this stuff so you can cycle away from anything that is, you know, seemingly against that? And it's kind of where the rubber meets the road. Are you willing to do this or not? And if you're not, don't complain about it, right? Because again, it's your choice. Transurfing is all about accountability. And if something isn't the way that you like it, yet you're tolerating it and you're bitching and moaning about it, that's your choice. Take accountability for that. Okay, this isn't what I want, but I'm choosing this rather than having contempt for a situation that you ultimately have control over. 3, and I know I just kind of touched on this a little bit, but I will go into it a little bit more. What is in your way, and are you capable of getting rid of it, right? Are you capable of getting rid of it? Now, I know some people will say, oh, you know, my parents don't believe in me, or so-and-so doesn't believe in me, but, you know, I do love them and they are my family, so there is good and bad. And I'm not saying, like, obviously infinite shades of gray, right? There is never any situation that is 100% good or 100% bad, but you have to weigh it out. and this is where it got to with my mom, is what I'm getting here worth what I'm giving up? When I decided to cut my mom off, I had a moment that got really, really, really dark. And I was still leading the transurfing community. And I started having some dark thoughts. I'm like, man, you know, I don't know if I can go on living with this kind of energy coming at me all the time. This is after I found transurfing, right? I mean, how ironic is this that I have this knowledge, but I'm also having these thoughts? And then I woke up one day. I went down to a river, sat there, rustle of the morning stars, really felt what I was feeling inside. And I asked myself, is it worth it? Is she giving you enough that it's worth you feeling like this? And it's worth how it's hindering you from going to that next level or that next version of yourself? And the answer was crystal clear. Fuck no, it's not. Fuck no, it's not. Right? So was it painful? Absolutely. Did chaos reign after I chose this new narrative, one without mom, all the family members freaking out? Oh my God, you can't just get rid of your mother. Well, you know what? Actually, yes, I can. I have that choice. So I'm not, I'm not gonna sit here and be like, you need to get rid of everybody. But I do know that anything that's against my narrative, I really do assess it at this point, because I can see again, getting back to basic cause and effect. If someone is in my reality, if I seek to feel better about myself, if I seek to feel successful, if I seek to feel like a powerhouse, if I seek to take my life to the next level, and then there's somebody present in my layer of reality telling me that I can't, telling me of why that's wrong to do that, telling me of all the ways in which I'm not capable of doing that, that is some cause right there, right? That's some cause sort of festering in my layer of reality, and it creates an effect. If I'm not happy with the effect, which is my current layer of reality as I'm experiencing it, I have to go back to the cause and ask myself, how can I transform this? How can I work with this? Do I need to get rid of this? Can I have a relationship with this person or this thing or this place or whatever that will support me in experiencing the effect that I want, which is my layer of reality? So what is in your way, and are you willing to get rid of it? 4, what will help you, right? And this is where it's going to get a little bit tricky. The full point is, what will help you? Is it ethical? Who cares? Forget about ethics. Okay, so I know this sounds a little bit shocking, and you're probably thinking, what the fuck is Renee telling me to do something bad? There is a part in Reality Transurfing steps 1 through 5 that says you can do anything you want to do to create your own reality, as long as it does not hurt another person. So when I'm talking ethics here, I'm more so talking about standards, but I'm also talking about things that might be perceived culturally, or, within your family, or even within yourself, that you perceive to be bad or wrong, right? So I'm not going to give away the way in which I did this. It's going to be saved for the second chapter of the book. But this was the point that I arrived to, where I had to really ask myself, am I willing to do this to facilitate this narrative change, right? Am I willing to step out of my zone of comfort and do something against standards that have been set up by pendulums, family, whatever? Am I willing to do this thing so it facilitates this narrative? It supports this narrative. And ultimately I chose yes, right? Now, it didn't hurt anybody. Nobody was hurt, but it was definitely outside of the box, right? So are you willing to step outside of the box and sort of bend yourself or your ethics or the standards that are external to you so you can facilitate this evolution or new narrative or however you want to say it. And this is a doozy because most people are like, oh, I can't do that. That's crazy. Or I can't, God, what will people think? You know, and my story will definitely shed some light on how I dealt with that because I was a very professional person at the time with a professional reputation. And I thought to myself, like, oh my God, what if somebody finds out? What will people think? And then finally I was like, no, that thinking is not in line with me using this tool to facilitate the change that I want to see. So I'm just going to throw it out. I don't care what people think. People find out, fuck it, right? So 5, and this is, again, rubber meets the road. A lot of people aren't willing to do this. Consistent action. It's not negotiable. You're not going to see a change in your scenery, in your layer of reality, if you're just doing the same old crap over and over again. And this is the one that kind of shocks me the most, is the level of inaction in the whole reality creation scene in this culture, especially the modalities that teach, oh, you don't have to do anything. I can't remember which one is really heavy into that. Oh, you don't have to do anything. You don't have to lift a finger. And I'm like, it is such bullshit. If nobody had to lift a finger to get $1 million or $1 billion or the life that they wanted, everyone would be having the life that they want right now. You got to move your ass, right? So when you choose that narrative, you're like, okay, I want to be financially stable. I want to have freedom with my time. When you sit in your layer of reality, doing the same stuff that you've been doing for however long, and that's what you want, but you're not willing to take any action in the direction of that intention. I mean, to me, that's crazy. That is absolute crazy talk. You've got to be willing to take action. And a lot of people are like, okay, well, I don't know how to take action. I don't know what to do. Look at what I did, right? Look at what I did in my book. For those of you that read my book, my first chapter, look at what I did. I was broke. I was $50,000 in debt. I had no money to my name. My rent was due. I didn't have a car. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a bank account. I didn't have anything, right? I was pregnant. I didn't have anything. But I knew that if I wanted out of that I was going to have to take action. So I did what I had to do, right? And as soon as I was recovered, I started walking around town asking people to employ me. And then I found that job, and then I took the waitressing job, and then I decided, like, okay, something really good's gonna happen for you. It's got to, right? And then I continued to move in to that space with this will to have. And I know that there's at least some people thinking, oh, well, you got lucky in that story, right? You got lucky in that story. Somebody came to your, a white knight came and saved you. But here's the thing. I wouldn't have attracted that white knight, and I wouldn't have attracted his offer had I not made that decision in the car before I went into the restaurant, right? If I had gone into the restaurant feeling like crap, that old narrative, nothing good ever happens for me, woe is me, I'm broke, I'm not educated, I don't have anything to offer anyone. If I was resonating at that frequency, my actions would have aligned to that. I don't know, luck's for other people, it's not for me. But I chose, right, the will to have, I chose a new narrative, and then I stepped into that environment, essentially a different person. And this got a different response from people in that layer of reality. I would not have gotten that had I been resonating, acting, and thinking in line with that previous narrative. So this is a big one. I got lucky because I created that luck for myself, right? I created that luck for myself, and I didn't put demands on my world. I didn't say, I need something good to happen to me today, or care about the means or the ways in which it would come. I just woke up, I saw myself, I saw my reality. Renee, something good's gonna happen for you today. And that first thing, the compliment from the manager, right? That was good enough for me. So I resonated with that. Okay, this feels a lot better than wanting to fucking kill myself, right? This feels a lot better. And I decided to hold on to that. When I decided to hold on to that, I attracted more of it, and then more, and then more, and more. And then before I knew it, I'm living at the Ritz in Paris, y'all. Because of my will to have. Because of my will to have. Okay, so 6. Big one, a doozy. We're watching Elon Musk bust a move and do this right now. Love him or hate him, he is creating his own rules. So number 6, create new rules and break the old ones. So I'm doing shit differently. The book, it's a perfect example. Everybody had convinced me that I had to do this traditional publishing and all this stuff. And I was just like, oh my God, it's so tired. And I don't want to do it. It's not in line. I'm not feeling heart and mind over this thing, right? I need to think of a new way to explode myself into my environment, rules that I've created, tossing out old ones. Same with my story. Pretty much my story my whole life has been throwing out the rules. Like when I bought my boat, and this is going to be an amazing chapter in the book too, everybody thought that I was crazy, right? This boat was way too big for a person to sail it single-handed. Everybody said I was going to hurt myself or sink the boat, or that I was foolish. And I decided, nah, those rules aren't mine. I'm going to create some new rules. And this new rule is 110-pound female can sail a 42-foot boat on her own. New rules, right? And sure enough, I did it. I didn't listen to those old ones. I chose new rules. And then I went about collecting what I need to collect in my external environment to help me facilitate that choice, that new narrative, right? So this is where it's at. Run through them real quickly again. Stop thinking there is something external to you that will help you. It's inside of you right now. All you gotta do is choose it, and then don't let go of that choice, right? Don't let go of your choice no matter what. Chaos reigns. Expect that chaos is going to reign and deal with it. This is you managing your reality. This is you taking control. What is in your way? Get rid of it now, right? Or create a new relationship with it. 4, what will help you? Is it ethical? Who cares? Forget about ethics. Forget about rules. Forget about the wants of your family or what your culture says that you should do. You know, I'm really not too much anymore, but I have a lot of followers and people in the Middle East, and I've given a lot of seminars to my Middle Eastern transurfing friends. And like, I was a little bit tripping about what they're gonna read in the next chapter, but then I let it go. And I'm like, okay, they're either gonna love it, or if they don't agree with it, that's on them, but at least it'll show them that like, you can break the rules, right? You can break the rules as long as it's not hurting anyone. Consistent action, it's non-negotiable. You gotta take the moves that you need, make the moves that you need to make in order to move yourself towards that intention, keeping yourself in line with the new narrative. And again, reiteration, I know I'm being redundant here, create new rules, break the old ones. Break the old ones. To wrap this up, and I'm not meaning to brag here, I'm just doing this to tell people that it's possible. Again, my story, where I decided to start my story, I was almost 25 years old. I was pregnant. I had really low thought quality. I had an addiction to pills and alcohol. I had no money. I was $50,000 in debt. I had no skills. I was like pretty much bottom of the barrel human, right? Right now I know it's 18 years later, but again, what's the alternative? What are you going to do in the meantime? Sit and just kind of like accept that other thing? It's taken me a long time to do this, but I have everything that I want now. I have financial freedom and financial security. I have a romantic relationship with the man in my dreams that treats me extremely well. I live in a place of my dreams. I wake up every morning with childlike wonder for what is to come in my day. I'm creative. I'm living by my rules. I'm fully embracing my will to have. I don't deny myself anything. If I want something, I get it, right? I get it because I have cultivated a deep sense of deserving, and I have everything inside of me to connect me with whatever it is that I want to experience external to me and in my life and inside of myself. I have it all, but I have to make that choice, right? I have to make that choice, and I have to stay steadfast to that choice. And if you do this, if you're in a dire spot now and you want what I'm talking about, make the choice to have it and don't ever look back. And when your lower self tells you that you can't have it, put a plastic bag over your lower self's head. Theoretically, no real plastic bags here, but you know what I'm saying? Suffocate that voice and switch over to this other voice. I can do this. I am willing. I am deserving. All of that stuff, and just fucking own it. Rock it. Work it. As I said in my book, I got out of that car and I was like, just go work it. And this was the first moment in my life where I took control of the scenario and I transurfed myself to a higher version of reality. And this kicked off the next years to come, which were also a pretty wild ride and full of all kinds of positive gains and adventures and all sorts of crazy stuff, which you guys will hear about in the chapters to come. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'm going to probably post these, a couple times a month maybe. They're going to be ones I really, really feel about and messages that I really feel will help people benefit that are challenged with continuing to live a narrative not of their choosing. You do have the power to do this, but you've got to really embrace that. Don't let it go. So thank you so much, and catch you on the flip side. Bye.